Hi, everybody. A great experience is coming up Thursday afternoon, September 14th at the Co-op in Moundsville, and I invite you to be there. It starts at noon. Hey, I'm Frank Fear, and I'll be there signing my new book on WVU football, and joining me will be former Mountaineer football players, WVU mascot, and local high school coaches, too. Co-sponsored by the Co-op and the Marshall County Chamber of Commerce, there'll be free hot dogs and Kirk's ice cream served all afternoon with live music and radio coverage too. So join me Thursday afternoon, September 14th at the Marshall County Co-op on 11th Street, starting at noon.
Join me, Steve Novotny, at the Marshall County Co-op this Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. for plenty of conversation about the West Virginia Mountaineers, the backyard brawl against the Pitt Panthers Saturday evening, and the Marshall County Chamber of Commerce and its many members in the local business community.
Hey, you know what? Let's start off with you, Frank, and let's get at this, what you had this past week. You had a big signing day Thursday up in Moundsville, big signing day in Morgantown on Friday at Barnes & Nobles. You know, your book, Band of Brothers Then and Now, is absolutely fantastic. It's on the sports column, your website, where you publish people that want to publish articles. You know, how was your event, brother?
Well, we had a ball, and I'll tell you what. As you mentioned, we were in Moundsville on Thursday, and I really have to thank Dave Voigthofer at the Co-op there, the Chamber of Commerce, and the staff, Ruby, Beth, Linda, Stacy. I'm missing names, I know, but they worked for months to put this together. It really was a Panhandle celebration, and had about 150 people for dinner, probably about 200 people altogether. But as many people told me, yeah, football's great, but the hot dogs were free. So was the ice cream. And we had 2 radio stations there, a live band. They had TV coverage. Boy, they really know how to do it. And it was just an unforgettable experience. We had about 12 to 15 former Mountaineers from 66 to 70 there. More wanted to come, but they couldn't get there for one reason or another. It was just terrific.
I hear her voice in the morning hour, she calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Mountain mama, take me home. Country road, take me home. Country road, take me home.
So this is a book about life. It's a book about how you mature. It's a book about, you know, in retrospect, after listening to Frank speak and Dave speak, I think we should have entitled this a co-op of brothers instead of a band of brothers, perhaps, because everybody put something into it and everybody got something out of it. This is the book, Band of Brothers. Get yourself a copy. You won't regret the time you spend reading it, I guarantee you. It's about a lot more than just football. And I want to read you, first of all, I want to thank Frank Fear for writing the book. Thank you very much, Frank. And Frank did extensive research with us. There's several interviews that he did with us on YouTube. before he even wrote the book, if you ever want to listen to some of those YouTube interviews. But he took the time to write the book about us. Dave got involved in promoting it here at the annual co-op board of directors meeting with the Marshall County Chamber of Commerce. A friend of mine owns a distillery down in Charleston, distilling bourbon. He got involved. We had a big book signing down there. We're doing Barnes & Noble over in Morgantown tomorrow night. But I just want to real quickly talk about some of the brothers real quickly. And there were a number of them here earlier today. Those of you who just came for dinner, we probably had a dozen of the guys from that team. I think we're left now with Terry, who just spoke, myself, and Danny Wilfong. I think we're the only three left here this evening. But I do want to read you the foreword to the book. This is a piece that I wrote in 2019. We had a 50-year reunion of our 1969 Peach Bowl team. And I tell you what kind of guy Bobby Bowden was. I called Coach Bowden up in 2019. Still living in the same house he bought when he started coaching. And at the age of 91 years old, he came all the way from Tallahassee, Florida, to Morgantown, West Virginia for our 50th reunion. And I wrote this piece that I read to everyone at the beginning of our reunion in September of 2019. We had about 45 guys show up from that 1969 Peach Bowl team, which we did go 10-1, for those of you that may not know. Our sophomore year, we were 3-5-2. Junior year, we went 7-3, and then capped it off with a 10-1 year with the Peach Bowl victory in '69. So this all started for me 57 years ago when I was 18 years old. I'm 75 as well now. And since everybody was talking about their wedding anniversaries and their marriages, I'd like to say that I've been married for 56 years, but it was 4 different women. That's the way life works sometimes. But anyway, I want to read you this piece. If you'll bear with me just one moment. I call it transcendence. Transcendence. I will sail my vessel till my ocean runs dry. The creaking sounds of my naturally hewn oak floors remind me that this ship isn't as young as it once was, but it's still seaworthy. It still withstands the pounding of life's waves upon its bow. It still enjoys, I still enjoy, the exhilaration, for example, of transcending within a singular heartbeat from jumping out of a 105-degree jacuzzi into a 70-degree pool of water, because it reminds me in every fiber of my being that yes, I'm still alive, I'm still here. So the dawning of each new moment brings a new life for me, and that's how my philosophy is. We should all live in the here and now. I try to strive to be in the present moment where there really isn't anything else. For me, it's either be here now or be nowhere. Easy to say, but very difficult to do. And I've spent a lifetime trying to stay in the present moment. And there's still more ahead. Uncharted waters to be sailed, love to be experienced, life to breathe in, beauty to be appreciated, and yes, pain to suffer through, all within the mindfulness of the present moment. There is nothing else, only this, only transcending the here and now. So as we gather to celebrate our Mountaineer Brotherhood in 2019, and remember our brothers who have transcended to their next experience, their next new moment, I say, let's celebrate their lives and think of their passing not as an end, but as a new beginning. Like watching a ship sail away into the ocean until it passes just beyond that point on the horizon where you can no longer see it. although their ships have sailed into unknown waters and we can't see them anymore, their souls live on in our hearts. And when my ship transcends that final horizon, I will see them again, and we will rejoice in the memories of our days together as mountaineers. And just to finish off here, I want to read the names of people that we've lost in the last 57 years that have transcended that horizon to the next experience. First of all, Coach Jim, Bobby Bowden, Coach Hayden Buckley, Coach Marshall Taylor, Coach Jack Flegg, Bob Paston, Coach Jim Ragsdale, Jack Hammond, Pete Wood, Tim Horvath, Fred McMillan, Jim Smith, Jim Braxton, B.C. Williams, Lou Skoulas, Dale Farley, Walt Todorowski, and Carl Cornell. We just lost about a month ago. Yeah, right. So 18 of the brothers have transcended that horizon to their new experience. And one day we'll be reunited together. I have no doubt about that. So if you would, just a moment of silence in honor of those 18 people. And to finish, thank you very much for that. To finish, just one last piece of business here. In the 57 years that the Band of Brothers have been together, there have only been 2 people that we have inducted into the Band of Brothers that were not on that football team. The first was the author of the book, Frank Fear. So he's an honorary member of the Band of Brothers. The second gentleman is from Fayette County. His name is Greg Christ. You may know him. He's now working up in Morgantown. But Greg was a high school basketball coach at Midland Trail for years and years and years. He has a radio podcast on YouTube and on the New River Channel. Some great sports reporting. He took an interest in us, had us all appear on his show, so he became the second person ever in 57 years to be inducted into the Band of Brothers. And it's my honor and privilege tonight to induct the third member of the Band of Brothers, Mr. David Scott Voigthofer.
Called Band of Brothers, Then and Now, the inspiring story of a 1966-1970 WVU football Mountaineers. He's our very special guest. So, Frank Fear, welcome to Dimitri Live and Dangerously Local. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on today.
Great. So, I'm concerned, not concerned, I'm confused. You're from New York. You've been in colleges and universities all across the country, Iowa State, and now, Michigan State University. You're a professor there, administrator, everything else, God only knows. You spent apparently a very little amount of time in West Virginia, and yet you wrote the book, Band of Brothers, and you're going to be signing and doing an autograph thing on Thursday for 6 hours. What is it about you and WVU?
Boy, that is the question. Boy, you nailed it right off the bat. My wife and I went to West Virginia after we finished college. We both got our master's degrees there. And you're absolutely right. Of all the institutions of higher education that either one of us has been associated with, our time span in Morgantown was about 2.5 years. And I don't want to engage in hyperbole, but people who know me and know her know this to be true. Um, there is something about West Virginia and WVU that touched us in ways that, well, as they say, we left, but it never left us.
Tell me about this legendary quarterback from Bel Air, Mike Sherwood.
Carlin was his approach. I wouldn't say he was a defensive guy, but he was a very conventional coach in the sense that he wanted to run a much more wide open offense. And so he needed an offensive coordinator that would do that. And so that's why he brought Bobby from Florida State. And of course, what Bobby needed then was a quarterback who could run the show. And so 68 was Mike's first year, Sherwood's first year, and right out of the chute, I mean, he was just the real deal. Wasn't flashy, but had a good head, great leader. Players had confidence in him. And Carlin did a great job with Bobby Bowden in recruiting. And so they got a bunch of guys to come to WVU. And the beautiful thing back then, I just got through looking at the roster. In those days, about 20 to 30 players of a 60-man roster would be West Virginia guys, and they'd be supplemented mostly from guys from Eastern Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. But Mike Sherwood, the story on Mike, obviously people listening know this, went on to have a great career as a coach, athletic director, principal, administrator in Bel Air. He's a legend, an icon. He's the kind of person you want as a family member, a friend, a colleague. He just A+ all the way. He's a great character guy, which fit in perfectly with that group. That's the biggest surprise in the book. I never met any of them when Kathy Fear and I were there back then. Coaching staff I did, but not the recruits I did, but not the players. And that's one of the theme in the book. It's very much of a history book. That's why it's subtitled Then and Now, because it talks about them back then, but also talks about their journey through life.
I guess the last word, you can speak directly to our audience and tell them pretty much anything you want. You got about a minute or so. So, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Fear, the author of the soon-to-be runaway bestseller, Band of Brothers Then and Now, the inspiring story of the 1966-1970 WVU football Mountaineers, is going to be in Marshall County at the Co-op on Thursday. Book signing 6 hours. Frank Fear, my microphone is yours.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I appreciate your giving me this opportunity. It's just super. We're looking forward. Kathy and I are looking forward, and the Band of Brothers, to being there in Moundsville. We thank Dave Voigthofer and Scott Rager at the Chamber Books, and we're just so pleased to come back to the Mountain State.